Hey guys, so I am here with a bonus video for you guys. Just because, as you guys know, I'm always open and transparent, and I always get lots of benefit from just talking things out. And so I don't know if this is going to go under the mental emotional wellness or if it's going to go over motivation or both, but I'm here to share with you guys some of the messy parts of recovering and growing from trauma, right? So, as you guys know, a couple weeks ago, I did, or maybe 3 weeks ago now, I did a video on the stages of trauma recovery. And at that point in time, I was realizing that I still have a lot to recover when it comes to the emotional abuse that I've experienced. And to be perfectly honest, ever since my ex-husband left, I felt like there has to be something inside of me that was defective, and I got to figure out what is that thing so that I can fix it. Because how did I choose such an emotionally abusive person? Like, what inside of me is attracted to that, and how can I fix that thing? And I feel like I have a framework to start that now, as I have been introduced to attachment theory. And so, attachment theory is the way that you attach to other people in relationships and make connections. And there are secure attachments and there are insecure attachments. And underneath the insecure attachments, there are ones that are avoidant, and then there are ones that are anxious. And so there is the fearful avoidant, which has a back and forth or disorganized, sometimes anxious, sometimes avoidant. And then you have the anxious preoccupied, with this, which is the anxious one. And then you have me, which is dismissive avoidant, which is dismissive avoidant most of the time. And so most of the time, individuals who have experienced the amount of abuse that I have tend to be fearful avoidant. And I think both of my brothers are fearful avoidant, but for whatever reason, I am dismissive avoidant. And so dismissive avoidance just have this like underlying belief that like they can just do things by themselves because that's what they had to do. And that usually comes from a lot of emotional neglect and just having to be by themselves. And I think for me, probably it's just because I'm the oldest, right? And so I had to take care of everybody else. And so on top of all the sexual, emotional, and physical abuse that me and my siblings experienced, me being the oldest, I never had anyone to take care of me. Like, at least my youngest brother feels like, oh, you were like a mother figure to me, and I did have you. And it's like he goes back and forth between, am I like mother or am I like my sister, you know? And so with this, I've been deep diving this, doing some courses. And I recently, as I mentioned, started uncovering some actual memories. And so now I'm realizing that when I went on vacation, I actually had a post-traumatic stress disorder event that occurred. And I caused a huge mess on vacation. And so I saw a quote today and I was like, this is what it's about. Started tearing up when I saw this. And it's, I've grown most not from victories, but setbacks. If winning is God's reward, then losing is how he teaches us. And so at the end of the day, that's where I got to get to. And so I've been just reviewing everything and thinking, okay, how did I get here? Because I'm the girl that's a self-development coach. I'm the girl that says, you know, you can use these oils to get rid of these emotions. I'm the girl that says you can use these neuroscience techniques to get rid of this. And yet I was the person who was dysfunctional and toxic and had issues with two different people and misbehaved and numbed and did all this type of stuff because I just kept getting triggered. And so, first and foremost, I have, you know, the anniversary of my, the 4-year anniversary of my divorce. So that is Wayne. And the other thing with dismissive avoidance is that we are not very in touch with our emotions. And so when we first went into the pandemic, I remember the first time I was asked to talk about emotions, I'm like, that's not what I do. That's not what I do at all. And now after, you know, a year of like integrating, it's like, yeah, I can do that. Like, you sad? you this, like surface emotions, good. But there's still some deep underlying emotions that I can't get to, or core wounds is what they are talked about when it comes to your attachment style, that I can't still access very easily, and so they just come up. And so that's part of what happened. I have this anniversary, and then I started remembering like very distinct memories of, my emotional abuse from my mother, and then from actual some friends. Like one of the things I was trying to figure out is like, why do I love situationships? Why do I love like playboy friends? Why do I love like guys that kind of mistreat me but don't want to claim me? And I could link it to a distinct person when I was 11. And so I had these like traumatic memories that came up. And then right before I went on vacation, I got sick. So that caused anxiety. My hormones were out of whack. I started bleeding, and then I had to worry about that. And then when I got there, so what dismissive avoidance do is they deactivate. When they're under stress, they try to disassociate, deactivate, run away. Well, I'm on vacation with a bunch of people, so I don't have a way to deactivate the way that I would normally do. And so, and I'm also an extreme extrovert, and sometimes I actually deactivate by getting really, really busy in order to not feel my emotions, or I may be physically with someone and deactivate by like just being into my devices or whatnot. And so got there, had a little bit of conflict because I was sick, apologized for that. And then my body, I think, deactivated itself. It actually deactivated itself because I got a migraine. And I haven't had a migraine in a really long time. And so I was sick. I had a migraine to the point where I threw up. I went and I got a massage. And then I was taking medication, and I was so like completely out of it. And then I had some triggering happen that night, and then in the morning, because I was completely out of it, I didn't clean up after myself like I was supposed to. And so I felt shamed at the way that was communicated. So that was triggering. And then I just continued to feel trigger after trigger after trigger after trigger after trigger. And I responded to that by numbing. And then I had a crying fit on Sunday after having too many mimosas. And as you guys know, I don't like to cry in front of people, period. Let alone cry in public, let alone have something that looks like a complete breakdown temper tantrum, but that's what happened. And so again, in hindsight, the issue was that I had been depressed, I had low level anxiety, tons of triggers from all of the trauma that was coming up to the surface, and it resulted in that like post-traumatic stress disorder of these memories coming out in a crying fit. And so a couple of other like just different quotes and stuff that I've seen that I was like assimilating into what has happened. Like, I really love this one. Knowing your own darkness is the best method for dealing with the darkness of other people. The healthy man does not torture others. Generally, it is the tortured who turn into torturers. And so having that experience makes me so much more empathetic for other people that experience anxiety on a regular basis. Because, like, it's probably been, 8 years or something since something like that has happened to me. And I showed my darkness. Like, I was the toxic person. I was the individual that was causing the majority of the problems. But at the same time, now I understand, like, if I see somebody who has a crying fit, which I have before, and I am the person that's like, hey, let me give you a hug and give you some essential oils. Like, I don't want anyone to ever feel that way. But instead of making fun of them or going against them or torturing them. Like, I know that that's a place that I can go to, and I'm not ashamed of it, and so I can be so much more empathetic. Another quote that I saw: some days she's a warrior, some days she's a broken mess. Most days she's a bit of both, but every day she's there, standing, fighting, trying. So, I was a complete mess for the entire vacation because of all the stuff that I had went through, and it sucked. Like, it sucked really bad, but I got back up. Like, it's like I'm not, in the moment I didn't handle it well. In the moment I was like not responding correctly, and I wasn't able to apologize, but I was able to. And unfortunately, that's part of my dismissive avoidant. My dismissive avoidant doesn't understand emotions like that, doesn't understand other people's emotions because I don't understand mine. So I need time to process. Like, I have to talk things out, I have to ask questions, and it takes like 2 days for me to even understand like a deep emotion. And it's like, because I was on vacation, the triggers were coming so fast, I didn't have time to get to the end of it. But outside of vacation, I'm like, okay, yep, I was a complete mess, and here's the reasons why. And then there was another one that I saw: healing is a strange process, a delicate little thing. Like, one day you're completely okay, and the next day, any little thing can take you back to where you started, back to the beginning of it all. And that's how I felt. I'm like, how can I be the one that's here? Like, how in the world can I be the one that's here? But the whole holistic psychologist that I follow, she had like 9 different things talking about post-traumatic stress disorder. And then a couple of the things that like I grabbed from her was that getting triggered is not a choice. So when survivors are reminded of their trauma through internal or external cues, triggers, their fear structure is activated, and it can feel like they're reliving the traumatic experience over again. They may freeze or begin panicking, screaming, or crying uncontrollably. They're not overreacting or being dramatic. It's genuinely terrifying. And so that's what happened to me. I started uncontrollably crying and basically having a panic attack in public on the streets of San Diego with a bunch of people. And then the other thing was, flashbacks aren't the only PTSD symptom. Nightmares, insomnia, severe anxiety, panic attacks, depression, low self-esteem, avoidance, numbing, disassociation, hypervigilance are also common PTSD symptoms. And I think, other than nightmares, I may have had all of those while I was on vacation. And then another quote: you can't love yourself if you aren't being yourself. And a big part of being yourself is integrating the lost and forgotten parts of your personality that you tucked away long ago for good reason. So that's what I'm in the process of doing. Like, I developed my coping mechanisms as a dismissive avoidant, and pushing down all my emotions, and pushing down all the sensitive parts, and pushing down all the vulnerable parts. And I'm in the process of trying to dig all that up. Sometimes it's messy. Sometimes it doesn't come out right. Sometimes it comes out too much. But that's what I'm in the process of doing. And then my ultimate goal would be, the goal is to develop spiritual stamina, and when a problem occurs, I don't react out of emotion, but out of wisdom, which didn't happen while I was on vacation, but that's what the goal is. And one last quote: a champion is someone who gets up when they can't. One of my friends posted that, and I was like, yes, because that's how I felt afterwards. I'm like, when's the last time you had a crying fit? Again, 8, 9 years, it's been forever. When's the last time you felt like you alienated a whole entire group of people? I don't know. Don't remember. This is usually not what happens, but I gotta get back up. Like, at first I didn't feel like I could, but just do the work and understand. And then just going back to the first quote, when I did, I did my normal group therapy with havening, which is a neuroscience technique. And then I was still upset. So I did a one-on-one, and the practitioner was like, I know it's not fun and it's not easy, and of course it's gonna suck if you lose all of these friends, but at the end of the day, you have to thank them because they revealed your core wounds. Like, your core wounds came up because of the triggers, and I'm the only one responsible for my triggers. Like, nobody else is responsible but me. And it would have been nice if I was more in touch with everything. But one of the things they keep saying in a lot of the groups is that, like, you can't heal these core wounds or these relationship things outside of relationships, and they affect friendships as well, because these were all just friendships. And so having the conflict is how I reveal some of these core wounds and know exactly what I need to work on and heal them. And so, and then the first quote that I started with, we grow most not from our victories but from our setbacks. And I feel like, whew, this was a huge setback, and I'm way back at the beginning, and I gotta rebuild so much. I gotta rebuild, like, communities. Like, I gotta rebuild, I lost friends, and I gotta rebuild my support system, and that's just doesn't feel good. But losing is how God teaches us. And so knowing that I'm in a certain season, like in the future, what do I do? If I know I'm in a season, like, for example, I know that my anniversary is August, right? So I know that's going to be a tough season when that comes around. Make better choices. Make sure that I do a lot more healing work when the next tough season comes around. Make sure that I'm journaling beforehand and getting in touch with my emotions and doing the things that I need to do so that I don't want to numb, so that I don't want to escape, so that I don't want to avoid, so that I don't have a panic attack, so that I don't go into a crying fit. That would be the goal. But it may not happen because you can't always predict or control your triggers. And so continuing my emotional journey, one of the things that I'm going to go through is nonviolent communication, because that's one of the things that I was having issues with, is not being able to communicate correctly. I'm going through the how to do the work from the holistic psychologist, Nicole de la Perla, I think. And continuing to go through my attachment theory work and making sure I'm doing something every single day. Focusing on myself, starting the 75-day hard challenge. And so doubling down on a little bit of extra exercise, drinking water, and making sure that I do some self-development every day. So again, wanted to share that with you guys because I always want to share the journey. And one of the things I did today is I went through a lot of my motivational stuff, and I've went through hard seasons before. I went through seasons where I was like, all I can do right now is embrace the suck. Forget that. Choose happy stuff, and again, usually in May, usually August and September, like my anniversary through the week that my ex left, is usually hard for me. And I got to remember that. I got to be conscious of that. I got to make a plan beforehand next time and just keep moving forward. So getting up even when I can't. And those were my thoughts. And that's what I want to share. Thank you, anyone who decides to listen to this, and leave me any comments. Let me know, what do you know about PTSD? Have you had any hard seasons and how you've gotten through it? All right. Thanks, guys. Bye.